All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special workshop, spontaneous, and but I think it's going to be a fun workshop because I'm going to teach a very powerful technique in investing that I recently learned from a friend, and we're going to apply this investing technique, which is a kind of like a hack into how we think about investing. And this is something that you might have come across on YouTube. It's the craze right now, and it's called living out my brokerage account. And so I'm going to explain as simply as possible what it is, and then I'm going to go up the abstraction ladder in order to reapply that very powerful concept, so that we can, see how we can benefit from this concept, even if we don't, even if you don't have a brokerage account, even if you're not an investor, you can really leverage this very powerful, very intriguing investment strategy. So basically what living out my brokerage is all about. I'm just going to show you the video here. I don't know if you can see it, but there are tons of videos like the one that you're seeing right now, where the guy is saying that, he's investing, all the income that he's receiving, he's investing them. You know what? Let me just take a snapshot of this YouTube video, and I'm going to share it in so that you can see here, because I really want to explain this very powerful concept, which I was not aware of before, so that you can see how we can reuse this concept. Okay, let me just paste it here. Okay, there we go. Just gonna blow it up. Yeah, okay, so I think you can see it. Okay, so basically what this guy is doing is that he's he's hold on, sorry. Yeah, what he's doing is that he's taking all of his income. Okay, like all of his income is here, right? He's taking all of it, and he's automatically depositing 100% of his income into the brokerage account right here. So he's not like taking any money, like automatically his salary, everything that he's making, it's going to his brokerage account, and then it's giving him a 50% yield, a dividend, 25% growth, etc. So anyways, those are details you don't have to really understand. And then from the income that he's generating, like he is paying his monthly expenses. And basically the idea is that he's borrowing from his margin. He's borrowing at 5%, and he's getting a return, let's say, of 12% or something more than 12%. So this is not financial advice. I'm just exploring this concept, so please don't take this as financial advice. But in a nutshell, like, you don't have to know anything about investing, or you don't have to be an investor yourself. The idea is very simple. He's borrowing money at 5%, and so that's his margin. That's the money that his brokerage account is giving him to play with, and he has equity as collateral, and then he's investing the money, his income, everything, in a index fund. So in a bull market, it's going to produce like 12%. So you can see that the spread, there's a 7% spread, and that's how he's making money. But don't focus too much on the the specific mechanics. If we are zooming out, and this is one of my techniques or hacks as an innovator, if we're zooming out, we can rephrase this strategy as focusing on maximizing return on investment, or ROI. So the idea I want you to really focus on is that you have to be what you call it, you have to have a laser focus on achieving your goal, whatever it is. Okay, and it could be, I don't know, you want to find a wife, a husband, um, you want to lose, I don't know, 20 pounds, you want to stop smoking, or in my case, let's say I want to maximize revenue from my various video courses, even more specifically, maximizing revenue from, let's say, my calligraphy video course, which is selling at $100. So it doesn't matter what your goal is, you have to learn from these guys who are living out their brokerage, because they're subservient. No, is that a word? They're prioritizing return on investment. So it's this is really not about any morality. Some people might say, oh, money doesn't buy happiness, or money is, rich people are crooked, but let's leave that aside. Money is neutral. So if your goal is to maximize the return on investment, or if my goal is to maximize revenue from my calligraphy video course, if that is the goal, then I think it would help if we focus like a laser on that particular goal and we ignore everything else. Let me just draw a diagram so that you can clearly see what that kind of absolute, or if that that kind of thinking, where it's going to lead you. So suppose that this is your goal, and of course it can be return on investment, any goal that you want to set for yourself, and you have to write down exactly what that goal is, right? So you put that goal in the center, and this is the center of your life. It's your priority. This is the most important thing to you. It could be in the area of health, in the area of love, relationships, friendships. You want your career to be the best, etc. So you put the goal in the center, and then you create arrows around it, so that visually speaking, it becomes clear to you that, hey, this is my goal. Okay, like, don't bother me, don't do any, don't distract me. Why? Because this is my goal. This is what I want to do in life, and I'm going to stick to my goal because this is the most important thing in my life. And so you can see that the more arrows you have pointing at your goal, the more likely you're going to achieve your goal, and also you're going to exceed your goal. Okay. Now, if you want to go further, instead of your goal being something definite, it could be something perpetual. So, for example, instead of saying, my goal is to make, let's say, $20,000 in passive income per month, it can be something like, I want to maximize my monthly passive income. So your goal can be definite, 20K a month, or it can be perpetual and growing forever. So my goal is, to generate infinite passive income every month. But let's focus on definite, which is more, it's more like a game. You're aiming for something. So these arrows represent a number of things. They can represent your assets, your time, the people you're connected to. But whatever it is, whether it's people or things, physical things or digital things, they are all pointing towards your goal. Okay, so this is really a diagram, and this is so powerful. I can envision myself creating so many workshops, so many ebooks, so many courses, with 10 modules or more, based on this idea of subjugating everything else to your goals, right? Because oftentimes what's going to happen in life is that you have different goals, or you don't even have a goal. And this is something we have to be honest about this. People, like, they say that 95%, it's probably too high a number, but they say that 95% of people in the population, and that means 19 people out of 20, they just don't have a goal. In any area, the four areas of life, they just don't have a goal. In terms of health, they don't know exactly what their ideal weight is. My ideal weight, given my BMI, my body mass index, is 150 pounds, and I'm 150 pounds, so I have my ideal weight. Um, the my ideal financial situation is that I have enough passive income so I don't have to work, and I have achieved that goal. I'm not working. I don't see myself working. um, I'm teaching for fun, like what I'm doing right now, but I don't see myself going to an office job or going to a classroom to teach. And I was paid good money. When I quit my teaching career in January 2023, I was making $80 an hour just standing in front of a classroom, and just making jokes and telling stories and sharing what I know. Being paid $80 an hour, that's very sweet, but it's not enough. I want to be paid without having to work. Now, I teach on Zoom and live streams like this for fun, but I've achieved my financial goal. So some people are multi-millionaires, like 10, $20 million, but they're still working. And for me, it doesn't work. I don't want to have a lot of money in the bank and still have to work. So it might be good for them, but it's not for me. So my financial goals are met. My weight goal is met. My circadian sleep, I have to sleep before midnight. That's still something I'm struggling with. And love relationship, I'm playing that game right now, so it's fun. I don't need a woman right now. I want to share my life with a woman, but it's not like out of desperate need at all. Spirituality, peace, I'm on that road right now. I'm undergoing training, so I have goals, and that's why I'm striving to achieve the goals. But even if I haven't achieved those goals, I'm striving, using those arrows, right? I'm striving, and that's the whole thing about life. You've got to have a goal. The idea is not to achieve a goal. The idea is really to have a goal that's gonna help you to organize all of these different arrows, right? You organize the entropy, the chaos in your life, so that you can achieve your goal. That's the journey. Okay, it doesn't matter what goal you have. Your goal could be, I want to become a billionaire, in 5 years, or I want to make like $50,000 a month, working or doing online marketing and e-commerce, $50,000 a month. That's fine. Life is a simulation. Whatever goal you have and that you believe in, it's going to motivate you to align all the arrows to reach that goal. Some people say, I have a student who said, I want to work from my laptop. I want to be a digital nomad. Well, being a digital nomad is definitely a good goal, and I'm going to talk about that later on. But it's great because he's one of the rare students who actually have a goal. Like, his goal is to be a digital nomad, right? So I might advise him to line up all the arrows so that he can achieve his goal. But now the question is, like, what are these arrows? How do you maximize your chances of achieving your goal? So I'm just going to clean this up, and I want to go back to living out your brokerage, just to really anchor that very powerful concept. So let's say your goal is a perpetual goal where you want to maximize your return on your portfolio, right? So maybe right now you're getting 12% on your portfolio, and the only thing you need, because 12% is pretty good, the only thing you need is to get more capital. So what those people are doing, just gonna put it here. So what they're doing is that all of their income goes towards all of their, hold on. And so these guys have figured out, and this is not difficult to figure out, in order to live out of their brokerage account, where they borrow at 5% and they get a return at, let's say, 12% or more. So their goal is really to, a sub goal, if you will, is to maximize capital. Because, if you, let's take a practical example, and don't worry if you don't understand the details. I'm going to get into the technical financial details, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible so you can actually learn something in terms of finance. So let's say that the person has an income. We're not going to say what income source they have, but let's say that they have an income, let's say per month of something modest like 5,000. So it's about 60,000 a year. And so he has a 5,000 income from his salary, whatever. And typically, let's say these are just numbers at the top of my head. They might not even be accurate. But let's say that typically, per month, let's say that he's paying 3,000 in expenses. So we're not going to go into the details because it doesn't matter, whether it's rent, whether he's paying the mortgage, whether he's paying for food, clothes, car, phone, various services, etc. So let's say that he's, out 3,000, and so he has only like $2,000 of free cash to invest. Okay, so obviously, these guys realize that, okay, I'm getting 12% return, but I need more capital. And so what they decided to do is, instead of having only $2,000, they're going to invest the $5,000, right? And then they still have to pay the $3,000 expenses, right? Like nobody's going to pay for that, right? And so the $3,000 is going to come from a loan, or, in a brokerage account, it's called margin. So your brokerage account is giving you a loan, let's say of $3,000, and the collateral is your equity. So it can be shares in a company, etc. And so if you default on your loan, they're going to take over, ownership of your shares. And, it's a little bit like a mortgage. So they're taking a loan or margin to pay for their living expenses. And the loan, like I said here, is about 5% or something around that. But the return is 12%. And so they are succeeding at their goal of maximizing capital, because now every month they have $5,000 to play with, instead of only $2,000, right? So they really understand the rules of the game, the metrics, the mechanics, and so they have, all the money is being invested, and so that's what these arrows represent. So, for example, this arrow here can represent, initially they have only $2,000, but now the second arrow, what it represents is that the second arrow represents the 3,000 extra that they have, because now they're not using that 3,000 from their income, right, to pay for the expenses. The 3,000 will come from borrowing, and so they have a new 3,000 to play with. And so here at the top we have the original 2,000. So can you see that this extra 3,000, or this second arrow, is going to increase their return? So if they have 3,000, which is, like double this 100% of 2,000, it means that whatever return they were getting at 12%, now it's going to be double, because they just, added 3,000, more than double. They just added 3,000. And so if we go even further, and I really want to take some time to show you this, because this is part of my book on level 4. Level 4, my book, Mastering the Money Game. Level 4 is when you learn to become financially smart. So I'm just going to go on a tangent here and talk about my book so you can see where this really fits. So my book, which is totally free, you just have to register and you're going to receive it in the form of emails automatically. So my book, Mastering the Money Game, I talk about the 4 levels. So here you have to learn skills that make money. Number 2, you have to perform. In other words, you have to promote first your skills, and you have to perform in order to make money. So this is where you get a job, you get contracts. Like even if you get small contracts, that's okay, because you're going to be practicing the skills that you learned in level 1. So this is level 2. It's about performing. Level 3 is where you save money. So this is where you do nothing, almost. You do nothing. You just don't spend the money. So this sounds like it's very simple, but it's very hard psychologically, because people are bombarded with, advertisers every day. Oh, buy this, it's special. But you have to remember something I learned a long time ago. A bargain is something you don't need at a price you can't resist. Okay, so salespeople, advertisers are very clever, because they're gonna try to convince you, hey John, you really, you don't want to pass up on this opportunity. It's like usually it's $500, but now it's on sale, on special, just for you. It's only like $10, and so you can't resist that price, $10. But you know that you don't really need it. You don't need another webinar. You don't need another template. You don't need another AI tool, even at $10. Just use what you have. Okay, so this is very important. A bargain is something you don't need at all, but the price is so low and the sales pitch is so sweet that you can't resist. So here you have to exercise a lot of self-control, and that's quite a challenge. And so when you have enough savings, you can move on to level 4, where you're learning to invest your money, but also like invest your time, your money, your resources. So when I talk about investing, I don't just focus on money that you have to invest. Somebody can be very poor, but they might have a lot of time, and so they have to learn to invest their time correctly in order to make money. In a similar way, they can have a lot of resources at home, but they don't realize they have those resources, right? So they have to learn to invest to get a return. So this is my book. You can register to get it for free. And so here we can see that this person has an extra $3,000, because he's not using his $3,000 from his income to pay the expenses. He's using a loan. So what if he wants to more money, because he has only $5,000 income per month, right? So what he can do is use the third arrow, and we're gonna just speculate. We're just gonna say that the third arrow is when he goes on Facebook Marketplace and he's selling all the items that he's currently not using. And I've been doing that, and my sister and my friends have been doing that, and you'd be amazed how much money you can make. I think my sister has made more than 1,000. A friend of mine made more than a few $1,000s by selling stuff that were lying around in his house that he hasn't used for years. And so, just sell off your unused items. It's going to be useful and helpful to somebody else on Facebook Marketplace. And so you can, let's say this guy is selling off, like what I plan to do. I have so many old equipment, electronics equipment. And so let's say this guy is generating $1,000. It's a one-time, right? It's not per month, but still, it's a one-time funds. And so he has $1,000 to invest here in order to, get a 12% return on investment. So you can see that so far I've been focusing only on money arrows, right? This is money, and this is money, 1,000. But like I said at the beginning, if you move up the abstraction ladder, you can actually reuse this principle of focusing on your goal here and, subjugating everything else, all the other arrows towards the realization of that goal. Like you're really optimizing everything with respect to that goal, because that goal is the most important thing to you right now. Unfortunately, I'm just going to show you what's happening in life. I'm going to show you visually so that you can see that, if that's your situation, don't beat up on yourself. Just realize that that's your situation and you need to change. So the situation with most people is that they don't have a straight arrow like this. They don't have the discipline, but they don't have the discipline and the focus because they don't have a goal. So this guy has a goal, right? But most people, 95% of people don't have a goal, and they just like, what is my goal? So they just don't know what to do, right? Like in life, they just go through a routine. Everybody's getting a job, so I'm gonna get a job, right? Everybody is, let's say, going on a dating site or Tinder. I'm gonna go on dating site and Tinder. People waste time on TikTok. I'm gonna go on TikTok too. So it's because they just don't have a goal. Okay, they don't know what their goals are, and even worse, they don't realize they need to have a goal, because if you don't have a goal, like I said before, you're not going to have these arrows that will structure your life. Your life is going to be chaotic, it's going to be messy. You don't have a schedule every day because you don't have a goal. Okay, this is very important. And so these people who don't have a goal, and they don't even look for what their goals are in life, right? They're not going to have these straight arrows. It's not going to be ordered like that. So in their case, um, there's there's no it's going to be very chaotic. It's going to be very much like this. Oh, one day I'm going to do this because I feel like doing this, and tomorrow I'm going to do this. Hey, or hey, I'm going to call a friend. What's up, man? And next day I'm going to dream about something. But you can see all these arrows. It's all over the place, and before you know it, your life is over. And your life is over, and you look back, or maybe your life is not over, but you look back at the past 5 years of your life, and you realize, my God, I've squandered my time. I've done a lot of things which are interesting. I live in the moment, right? But I haven't achieved anything. And then you look online on YouTube or Instagram, you see people who are successful because they're focused on making money. But really, it's not the money, because from the money that they're making, they get to have, let's say, a cruise vacation. They get to travel around the world. They get to have a loving family. They get to have a lot of friends. They get to have good foods, and their clothes always the best clothes, designer clothes. They get to have jewelry. They get to have a car or several cars. They get to have a house or several houses. They're living la vida loca, so to speak. And they can have this kind of a life because they focus on making money. It was a priority for them. They didn't have negative beliefs about money, so they made a lot of money, and now they're in the process of enjoying that money, which they totally deserve, right? And so you've got to have like a goal. Now it doesn't have to be like my goal is $20,000 passive income per month, but your goal could be just 10,000, or it could be 50,000. In my opinion, you know, um, like even 50,000 or $100,000 in passive income per month, it's possible. It depends on how much you believe in yourself. But today, like even if you don't believe in yourself, you can use technology, artificial intelligence to compensate. Like for example, today, you don't need to have a business degree. Um, you can use artificial intelligence to support you, and you can make that kind of money, and you can get all the things that you want and that you deserve. So that's the good news. Um, and so that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. It's first of all about having a clear goal, and then making sure that all the other aspects of your life focus on helping you to achieve your goals. So it's not just the people around you supporting you. Yeah, sure, maybe you need friends and family to encourage you, but above all, you need to structure your life in such a way that everything is um, is focused on helping to achieve your goal. So I'm just gonna take my example here. Let's say that, um, and it's about organizing. It's about organizing and optimizing uh, your resources. So let me just give you an example. Sorry, I seem to have an internet disconnection. Let me see. Yeah, so let's say that my goal is to maximize value for my calligraphy for everyone.com members. Basically, it means that I have to create tons of video tutorials so that members can have access to all of my calligraphy demonstrations, right? So I want to maximize value for my calligraphy for everyone members. And so what I could do um, is organize my life so that I am supported in maximizing value. So number one, I would create a dedicated workstation. Right now I have a calligraphy workstation, but it's not dedicated. I have my computer, I have other stuff on my table. It's not really dedicated to calligraphy. So I'm going to put dedicated workstation for calligraphy practice. Okay, so that's one thing, one arrow that I will continually make better. Another arrow could be, which is forcing me. This is the idea of non-freedom. It is forcing me to to um, to focus on calligraphy. So another arrow could be, I don't know, piles of paper and notepads, notebooks. So when I see those piles of paper and notebooks, obviously it's going to be clear to me that, and I have ink bottles, it's going to be clear to me what I have to do. I have to convert all of that material into calligraphy. I have to do calligraphy, right? Another one, which I have, is I think a 2K webcam, which is pretty good. 2K means that I'm going to record myself doing calligraphy in very high quality, very, very high quality. So later on, when I zoom in, it's still going to be 1080p resolution. Another arrow, which is supporting me. And by the way, you can see this visual diagram is very soothing because I feel that I'm gaining in power. I'm getting more support. Another one could be like members. Let's call them members asking questions. Or it can be, if I want to help them to ask better questions, I would give them pre-written questions. So they just copy and paste the questions that they should be asking me. Okay, it's so they don't have to come up with new questions. Another way for members to support me is that members can send me their calligraphy pictures or even videos, short videos, and I would use those videos and pictures. I would comment on them, so it would be part of my calligraphy training videos. So you can see that there can be all kinds of arrows like this, and it's going to support my goal of maximizing the value. Now, why do I maximize value? Because if I maximize the value of this membership site, obviously, I'm going to be able to get more clients or maybe even charge more for the membership, right? So here, I'm going to be able to get more members. And let's say members are paying only $30 per year, and maybe increase the membership price to, I don't know, $50 a year, and maybe like attract more calligraphy teachers who will also contribute because they see that I'm so well organized, and they can have a lot of business opportunities through my membership site. So there are so many benefits that I could be getting from achieving that goal. Okay, and so I just wanted to show you that it's a very simple diagram. You put your goal at the center and you put all the arrows around it, and each arrow represents a way for you to organize your life so that it supports you. So this arrow here at the top, it could be, you know, I have Camtasia, which is a video editing software. So we're gonna put this arrow in a different color to differentiate from the other arrow. We're gonna put it in blue here. Whoops. We're gonna put in let's say in purple. So all these black arrows are supporting me, and the purple arrow is giving me ultimately what it is that is resulting from maximizing value. So you can reuse this template. In your case, the goal is going to be different, but you can see that, you know, from our original living out my brokerage, which is over here, I think. Where is it? Yeah, here. From this financial hack, this investment hack, which might or might not work in the world of finance because there are many caveats when you use this investing strategy. But in the world of that I just explained, it is going to work. This world is going to work because here it's not about the market. It's not about volatility, fluctuation in the stock market. This is something that you can actually do. You know, I can actually learn to use Camtasia. I can actually create a dedicated workstation. I can put piles of blank paper, notebooks, and pens and inks. I can purchase a 2K webcam. I can, you know, allow members to ask questions for free. I can write those questions for them, so they just copy and paste. I can invite them to send me their calligraphy pictures and videos as students. You know, there are so many arrows that I can create, and therefore, you know, I'm going to be able to really support my goal of maximizing value. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to share that idea with you. I think it's extremely powerful. I'm going to be using that myself, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. All right, hope you found it useful, and I'll talk to you more in the next live stream.